What if I told you that what your grandmother ate when she was pregnant with your mother is affecting your health right now? No, this isn't some mystical energy stuff. This isn't about ancestral trauma in the woo-woo sense. This is hard science, measurable, documented, proven. The mainstream medical establishment wants you to believe that your health is 100% determined by your genes. You get the cards you're dealt, and that's it. Bad genes? Tough luck. Family history of diabetes? Well, guess you're next in line. Bullshit. Back in Season 2, Episode 1, we revealed the truth. It's a 25-75 split. Your genes only account for about 25% of your health outcomes. The other 75%? That's the epigenetic code, the switches that turn genes on and off. And here's the mind-blowing part that your doctor has never told you. Those switches can be set by events that happened before you were even conceived. In fact, they can be set by what happened to your grandmother when she was pregnant. I know this sounds like science fiction. Stick with me. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly how transgenerational epigenetic inheritance works, what the Dutch hunger winter studies proved beyond any doubt, and most importantly, how you can break generational patterns of disease at the molecular level. This is the metabolic revolution. I'm your host, and I'm about to show you why your grandmother's diet matters, but why you still have the power to change everything. You came to the right place. Let's talk. Let me take you back to the Netherlands. Winter, 1944. World War II is raging. The Nazis have blocked food supplies to the Western Netherlands. For 6 brutal months, millions of Dutch people are starving. We're talking 400 to 800 calories per day. That's not a diet. That's slow motion death. But here's what makes this tragedy a scientific goldmine. The famine started suddenly, ended suddenly, and affected different pregnant women at different stages of their pregnancies. The Dutch people kept meticulous medical records. Birth weights were documented. Health outcomes were tracked. And decades later, researchers realized they had something unprecedented, a natural experiment that could prove whether environmental exposures during pregnancy could affect not just the immediate children, but grandchildren too. The lead researcher, Dr. Bastiaan Heijmans at Leiden University, along with Dr. Tessa Roseboom and their team, started tracking what happened to the babies conceived and carried during this famine. What they found changed everything. Babies whose mothers experienced famine during early pregnancy, those critical first few months when organs are forming, when the epigenetic code is being laid down, those babies had dramatically different health outcomes. 80% higher rates of obesity, double the risk of heart disease, significantly higher rates of diabetes and schizophrenia, and lower birth weights that persisted through life. But that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part is what happened to their children, the grandchildren of women who were pregnant during the Dutch hunger winter. They showed the same epigenetic changes. Their genes were still marked, 60 years later, by what their grandmothers ate when they were pregnant. I want you to sit with that for a minute. Your grandmother's nutritional status during pregnancy changed your epigenetic code. Now, mainstream medicine will tell you this is controversial. They'll say the evidence is emerging. They'll say we need more studies. Here's what I say. Bullshit. The Dutch hunger winter studies have been replicated. The findings have been confirmed. The mechanism has been identified. This is not controversial. It's simply inconvenient for a medical establishment that wants you to believe you're helpless without their drugs and interventions. Let me give you the specifics, because this is where it gets fascinating. So, how does this actually work? How can what your grandmother ate affect your genes today? Let's break down the biology, and I promise to keep this clear and actionable. Remember from Season 2, Episode 2, food is code. The methyl donors from your diet, folate, B12, choline, betaine, these are what write the epigenetic code. They attach to DNA in a process called methylation, and that methylation tells genes, hey, turn off, or hey, turn on. Now, when a woman is pregnant, she's building an entire human being. She has to provide all the methyl donors for 2 epigenetic codes, hers and her baby's. And the baby's code is being written from scratch. Here's what mainstream medicine doesn't understand. The epigenome is most vulnerable during 3 windows. Window 1, the first trimester of pregnancy. This is when the basic epigenetic code is established. Every cell division in the developing fetus requires methylation. The mother's methyl donor status directly programs the fetal epigenome. Window 2, the periconception period. Those 3 months before conception and the week after. The egg that will become you is already being epigenetically programmed by your grandmother's metabolic state before your mother is even born. Window 3, puberty. When the germ cells, sperm and eggs, are being formed in the developing fetus, preparing for the next generation. This is why the Dutch hunger winter findings are so profound. Women who were malnourished during early pregnancy couldn't provide adequate methyl donors. Their babies' epigenetic codes were established in a state of scarcity mode. Thrifty genes were turned on. Metabolism was dialed down to survive starvation. And here's the key. Those epigenetic changes occurred in the germ cells too. The baby's developing eggs, which would become the next generation, were also programmed with scarcity signals. So your grandmother's famine exposure affected your mother's epigenetic code directly, your mother's eggs, which became you, indirectly, and your epigenetic code before you were even conceived. Remember, this is transgenerational epigenetic inheritance, and it's been documented in humans for at least 3 generations. But wait, it gets even more interesting. The Dutch hunger winter studies showed something else. The timing of the exposure mattered enormously. For starters, women exposed during early pregnancy had babies with higher obesity rates. It was also noted that women exposed during late pregnancy had babies with higher rates of insulin resistance and diabetes. And the effects were sex-specific. Maternal exposure affected grandchildren differently depending on whether they were male or female. This tells us that epigenetic programming is not random. It's specific, it's targeted, and it's happening at precise developmental windows. Now, I want to address a question you might have. If this is true, aren't I just doomed by my grandmother's diet? Why bother trying to get healthy? This is exactly what mainstream medicine wants you to think. Helplessness, fatalism. It's in your genes. There's nothing you can do. I am here to tell you that is a lie. Remember the 25-75 split from Season 2, Episode 1? Your genes are 25%. Your epigenetic code is 75%. And here's the crucial insight. Epigenetic marks are reversible. Just because your grandmother's diet set certain switches in your epigenetic code doesn't mean you can't flip them back. All right, let's get practical. Because understanding the science is great, but what you really want to know is, what can I do about it? The beautiful truth about epigenetics is that it's dynamic, it's responsive, it's changeable. Let me share a client story that illustrates this perfectly. Sarah came to me at 34 years old. She had a body temperature that never topped 97.0 degrees Fahrenheit, a fasting insulin of 18. It should be under 5. Hashimoto's thyroiditis with antibodies over 500. She was a mother who'd had gestational diabetes and was a grandmother who'd survived the actual Dutch hunger winter. Sarah was convinced she was genetically doomed. Her mother had struggled with weight her whole life. Her grandmother had never been healthy. Sarah assumed this was just her fate. Here's what I told her. Sarah, your grandmother's survival during the famine was a miracle. Her body did exactly what it needed to do to survive. She passed down those thrifty epigenetic patterns to protect you from famine. But you're not in a famine. You can thank your grandmother for her survival and then update the code. We started Sarah on a comprehensive protocol. Step 1. We started her on an aggressive methyl donor repletion. We weren't just supplementing, we were providing the raw materials for epigenetic reprogramming. Step 2. Metabolic optimization. Remember from Season 2, Episode 3 of the podcast? Environment is code. and your metabolic state is a crucial part of that environment. Sarah's body was stuck in scarcity mode. We needed to signal, abundance is here. You can relax. You can burn fat. You can generate energy. And finally, step 3, circadian and light environment. We also worked on Sarah's light exposure, cold exposure, and sleep. All the environmental factors we covered in Season 2, Episode 3. Because here's the thing, your cells respond to signals. If you're signaling scarcity through light deprivation, temperature constantness, and poor sleep, your epigenome will stay in survival mode. What were the results? Well, 6 months into this protocol, Sarah's morning temperature was 97.8 degrees, up from 97.0. Her fasting insulin was 6, down from 18. Her Hashimoto's antibodies were 120, down from over 500. And if that wasn't great enough, her weight was down 35 pounds effortlessly, and she said that she felt like a different person. And here's what's really interesting. Sarah got pregnant a year into working with us. Her baby was born at a healthy 8 pounds. Her daughter is now 3 years old, and her epigenetic code has been programmed by a mother who was metabolically healthy during pregnancy. Sarah broke the generational pattern. Her granddaughter will not inherit the scarcity signals. The intergenerational transmission of metabolic dysfunction stops with Sarah. This is hope. This is empowerment. This is what's possible when you understand that your genes are not your destiny. And Sarah's not alone. I've seen this pattern again and again. Clients who reverse prediabetes that, quote, ran in their family, or those who lose weight that always stayed on no matter what they tried. I've also seen clients conquer infertility that they were told was genetic and birth healthy babies after multiple miscarriages. Every single one of them was told by mainstream medicine, it's your genes, there's nothing you can do. Every single one of them proved that lie wrong. Now, I want to speak directly to anyone listening who's planning to have children, or who might someday. What you do now affects the next 2 generations, literally. If you're a woman planning pregnancy, your current metabolic state is programming your future baby's epigenome. And if you're carrying a female fetus, you're also programming your grandchildren's epigenome. The eggs that will become your grandchildren are forming in your developing baby's ovaries right now. If you're a man, your current metabolic state is affecting sperm quality and epigenetic markers. Yes, paternal epigenetic inheritance is real too. What you eat, your stress levels, your toxin exposure, all of this affects the epigenetic code you pass to your children. Here's my preconception protocol, the minimum I recommend for at least 3 to 6 months before trying to conceive. For women, we usually start with methyl donors, like 5-MTHF at 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms daily, methylcobalamin at 1,000 micrograms daily, choline at 500 to 1,000 milligrams daily, which again is critical as most prenatal vitamins don't have enough, and finally, betaine, 500 to 1,000 milligrams daily. For metabolic support, we consider things like carnitine, 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams daily, or inositol, 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams daily, as this helps with egg quality and insulin sensitivity. And sometimes we also reach for CoQ10, 200 to 400 milligrams daily, and vitamin D, always to a level of 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. For men, we think about epigenetic and metabolic support for sperm production. We often think about things like zinc, 30 milligrams daily, or 200 micrograms of selenium daily, or vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams twice daily. Other things that can help are vitamin E, 400 IU daily, CoQ10, 200 to 400 milligrams daily, or L-carnitine at 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams daily. And for both parents, we often talk about things like optimizing sleep, 7 to 9 hours in complete darkness. Also, light exposure, aiming for morning sunlight within 30 minutes of waking. And don't forget about movement, 30 minutes daily, but not excessive cardio. and stress management, which is always a high priority as cortisol affects the fetal epigenome. And last but not least, toxin reduction. Filter water, choose organic for dirty dozen, avoid plastics. And here's something I want every prospective parent to understand. The first 1,000 days, from conception to age 2, are critical for epigenetic programming. This is when the foundation is laid, but it's not irreversible. Yes, optimal prenatal nutrition gives your child the best start. Yes, the first 2 years matter enormously. But if you're listening to this and you're already past that window, or if your children are past that window, I want you to hear this clearly. It is never too late to reprogram the epigenome. Children respond incredibly well to nutritional and lifestyle interventions. Their bodies are designed to grow and change. The plasticity of the epigenome is highest in childhood. I've worked with families who turned their children's health around at age 5, 10, even 15. ADHD resolved, autoimmune conditions reversed, obesity conquered, anxiety and depression lifted. You are not doomed. Your children are not doomed. No matter what your grandmother ate, no matter what your mother ate, no matter what you ate before you knew better, the epigenome is responsive to change. It's responding to signals right now, and you can change those signals. Let me bring this back to where we started. Your grandmother's diet is affecting you today. The science is clear. The Dutch hunger winter studies proved it. Transgenerational epigenetic inheritance is real. But here's what's equally true. Your diet is affecting your grandchildren, and your lifestyle choices are reprogramming your epigenome every single day. You are not a passive recipient of genetic destiny. You are an active participant in your own genetic expression. The mainstream medical establishment has a vested interest in keeping you helpless. If genes determine everything, you need their interventions. If you're doomed by your ancestry, you need their drugs. But that's not how it works. That's never how it worked. You have the power to test your current metabolic state, provide the methyl donors your epigenome needs, signal abundance instead of scarcity, break generational patterns at the molecular level, birth children free from inherited dysfunction, and reverse health challenges you were told were genetic. This is what we do at BioSpark Health. This is what the Energy Reset Essentials program is designed to help you accomplish. Not symptom management, not disease maintenance. Actual reprogramming of metabolic and epigenetic dysfunction. If you're tired of being told it's your genes, tired of being told there's nothing you can do, tired of watching your children struggle with the same health challenges that have plagued your family for generations, there is another way. The science is clear. The protocols exist. The results are proven. You just need to decide, am I going to accept the narrative of helplessness, or am I going to take control and rewrite my own genetic story? Your grandmother couldn't choose what she ate during pregnancy, but you can choose what you eat now. You can choose how you live now. You can choose to break the pattern. That choice is available to you right now. If you want to know exactly where your metabolism is at, if you want to understand your epigenetic risk factors, if you want a personalized roadmap for breaking generational patterns, go to biosparkhealth.com and take our free metabolic assessment. It takes 10 minutes. It'll tell you more about your health than any doctor visit has ever told you. Your grandmother's story affected you, but your story is yours to write, and I'm here to help you write a different ending. You came to the right place. Let's talk.